I've heard it said that betrayal doesn't just happen to the person you love, it ripples outward, touching everyone in its path. When I think back to that night, the night my daughter found out, I realize now that the pain I felt was nothing compared to hers. My name is Evelyn Carter, and I'm 51 years old. For most of my adult life, I thought I had built a family grounded in trust. My husband, Daniel, and I had been together for over 25 years. We raised one beautiful daughter, Sophie, now 23. She had always been my pride, my joy, my best friend in many ways. I never imagined that the cracks in my marriage would end up shattering her heart more than mine. The first signs. It started subtly. Missed dinners, half-hearted conversations, and Daniel spending extra hours at the office. At first, I chalked it up to stress. His company was going through a rough patch, and I thought he was simply working harder to keep everything afloat. But the late-night phone calls were harder to ignore. He would step out of the room, speaking in a tone that was low but not low enough for me not to notice the difference. I knew my husband's voice like I knew my own heartbeat, and this was not the voice he used with me. Still, I said nothing. Denial is an oddly comfortable place when you're afraid of the truth. The unwelcome confirmation. One Saturday morning, while Daniel was in the shower, his phone lit up on the nightstand. The name that popped up wasn't a colleague I recognized. Against my better judgment, I glanced at the screen. The message read, "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." I felt my stomach twist. The air in the room grew heavier, my chest tightening with every second. I didn't open the message, but I didn't need to. That one sentence was enough to change everything. I confronted Daniel later that day, my voice shaking but calm. "Who is she?" I asked. He froze, and that pause, longer than a pause should ever be, told me the truth before his words did. "It's not what you think," he tried. But his eyes betrayed him. Telling Sophie. For days, I debated whether to tell Sophie. She had always idolized her father, thought of him as the rock in our family. In her eyes, Daniel could do no wrong. But the weight of the secret was unbearable. I didn't want her to find out from someone else, or worse, catch him in a moment like I had. So one Sunday afternoon, while she was visiting, I sat her down in the kitchen. "Sophie," I began, "I need to tell you something about your father." She listened quietly at first, her green eyes fixed on mine. But as I explained, her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, and then to something far worse, anger mixed with heartbreak. "No," she said sharply, shaking her head. "You must have misunderstood. Dad would never." I reached for her hand, but she pulled it away. "Mom, you're wrong. You have to be wrong." Her anger at him, and me. Over the next few days, Sophie avoided both of us. She wouldn't answer my calls or texts. When she finally came over, it was only to confront Daniel herself. I was in the living room when I heard their voices from the kitchen. Hers was loud, trembling. "How could you do this to Mom?"
To me?
"You're supposed to be better than this." Daniel's voice was low, pleading, but I couldn't make out all the words. What I did hear was Sophie's final sentence before she stormed past me and out the door. "I can't look at you the same way again." It hurt, watching her pain. But what hurt even more was the way she looked at me when she left, like I had failed her too. Trying to rebuild. Weeks turned into months. Sophie kept her distance from her father, speaking to him only when necessary. Our once close family dinners turned into awkward gatherings, or didn't happen at all. Daniel swore it was over, that he had made a mistake and wanted to repair what we had. I wanted to believe him, but trust is like a shattered mirror. You can glue it back together, but the cracks will always be visible. I tried therapy for myself first, then convinced Daniel to join. Eventually, Sophie agreed to attend a few family sessions, though it was clear she wasn't ready to forgive him. The turning point. The real change came unexpectedly. Sophie was driving home from work one rainy evening when her car broke down on a busy road. She called Daniel, not me, something I learned later. He dropped everything, leaving an important meeting to get to her. She told me later how he stood there in the rain, fixing her tire, his clothes soaked through, not caring about anything else but her safety. It didn't erase the past, but it was the first moment in months that Sophie saw the father she had loved all her life. Where we are now. It's been a year since that night I found the message. Things aren't perfect. Maybe they never will be, but we're trying. Daniel works harder now to be present, to show us both that we matter more than anything else. Sophie still struggles, and I understand why. Infidelity doesn't just break a marriage. It wounds the family. But I've learned that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to move forward, even when the cracks remain. And while my daughter could not accept it at first, she's slowly learning that forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what happened. It means freeing herself from carrying the weight of it forever.